Hi, I'm Cole from Fuel Storage. Today we're here to help you out with what your responsibilities are and a few things you should know when it comes to placing a fuel tank on your farm. All of the information we'll be talking about today can be found in the Good Practice Guidelines for above ground fuel storage on farms. This is a WorkSafe document and can be found on our website. To kick it off, we're going to talk separation distances. The first thing you're going to want to sort out is where you're going to put the tank so it will not pose a risk to waterways, buildings or stock feed. Also, so it's clear of ignition sources, especially if you're storing petrol, but also so it's in a place where the fuel delivery truck and farm equipment can get to it easily. On-farm fuel tanks, petrol or diesel, or a combination of both, need to be kept a minimum of 20 metres away from high-intensity land use areas. These are places like houses and accommodation, public roads and smoker rooms, etc. You will need to have a 6-metre distance from fertilisers, poisons like weed spray and combustible materials like hay or a building completely constructed from combustible material like an old-style timber barn. A big thing to be aware of when placing a tank on farm, especially if you're storing petrol, is ignition sources. Ignition sources can be things like hot work areas where you might be grinding or welding, also power points and electronic equipment that are not certified to be in a hazardous zone, like an electric fence unit. For diesel, there needs to be a 6-metre separation distance between the tank and an ignition source, and for petrol it's 15 metres. If a potential spill could pose a risk to waterways, stock feed or hot work areas, then controls will need to be put in place. One thing you'll need to have is an emergency response plan and secondary containment. Another good thing to have on hand will be a spill kit with employees trained on how to use it properly. Which brings us to our next point, secondary containment. Let's have a look at one. Secondary containment is a physical barrier or container which holds fuel from the tank in the event of a leak or overfill. Adequate secondary containment must be able to hold 110% of the tank's capacity. A tank will require secondary containment if, as I just said, poses a risk to waterways, stock feed or hot work areas, but also if you're holding 2,000 litres or more of diesel, petrol or a combination of both. This particular farm doesn't need secondary containment, so let's get this out of here. So now you have your spot where you're going to put your tank, let's talk about foundations. It's best practice to have your tank fixed to a concrete pad, but a level compacted gravel base that has good drainage so it doesn't become boggy when it's wet is also acceptable. Next we have the ladder. Ladders need to be fixed securely to the tank, have a stable platform and handrails to ensure people accessing the top of the tank, like the fuel delivery drivers, can do so safely. If you're considering upgrading your tank, have a look at on-ground options. These are very safe, practical tanks that eliminate working at height hazards. Let's have a look at one. Other quick things to note, if you're storing bulk quantities of fuel on farm, people need to be made aware as they drive into the hazardous area. Signs should be displayed clearly as you drive into the area where fuel has been stored. Also, A3 HazChem labels need to be displayed on the tanks, stating the product, its HazChem code, emergency contact and the relevant information. And the last thing you'll need is a fire extinguisher positioned within 30 metres of the tank, but not attached to the tank, just in case it really goes pear-shaped and catches fire. A 2 kg dry powder 30B rated extinguisher is all you will need to battle a small fire. To be fair, if my petrol tank caught fire, I would not be hanging around for too long. So if you can't put it out safely, we would suggest you get away from the tank as quickly as possible. Thanks for watching. I hope this has helped. If you need any more assistance, give us a call on 0800 Fuel Storage or head to our website fuelstorage.co.nz.